Good evening, comrades. People power, our power, people power, our power, NUP, everywhere, everywhere NUP. Thanks for joining me. Thank you. Okay, I appreciate your time. My name again is Demi Kiza. I'm one of the people on Choto. I often do some lives on my profile, but I'm here on Choto now. So good evening. I know people they are dying to hear what is happening with the Fred Rumbi. I haven't got an update. I've seen a passport being shown. Thanks, Berina Fola. I haven't got any update. The news I got for you that today our leader of opposition presented a legislative plan that made me feel very, very happy and very excited because he's talked about various points. If they are implemented, Uganda, we are going to be on a good move. I said we can't be on opposition. It's not a problem. But when you are in opposition, it's a chance for you to present yourself, how capable you are when you get into the government. So far, opposition, they are doing very well. Leader of opposition is doing very well. And this is to let everybody knows that everybody has got their own designation. People, they must say, okay, we haven't seen Bobby talk, we haven't seen so and talk. No, everyone has got a chance. And Bobby also has made a speech that I haven't listened to, that I'm going to listen to. So today I'm going to talk about corruption. Corruption has made our country go backwards like so many times. It's going to take, it's going to take 200 years to bring our country back if it is in the hands of NRM. But if it comes into NUP, the new Uganda, the new leaders, we have got different ideas. You heard our leader of opposition stood in the parliament, gave a speech, gave alternative. He gave alternative for the COVID, he gave alternative for education. Now he has just given legislative plan. Amazing. I listened to that. I was like, I'm driving a Ferrari, I'm cruising. Thank you very much, Impug. So corruption in Uganda, it comes into three parts. Ground safety, there is pettiness, there is that little bit of corruption. But however, corruption has eaten in Uganda. The people's minds, they are corrupt. Everywhere is corrupt. Wherever you want to get, you have to pay money, you have to pay bribe. Young people, they are born knowing that you have to pay money to get your way. You have to pay money to get a document. It shouldn't be that way. And the surprise this year, Uganda actually, out of these countries who gave in to be listed when about corruption, Uganda is 149, which is very, very high. So corruption has affected Uganda in every part of the way. It has affected economy, it has affected the lives of people, it has affected everything. But the problem we have is the leaders that we have. They don't have the will to fight corruption. And with NRM to stay in power, it means corruption has got to exist. Because if people they support NRM, they support on the back of that, they are going to be corrupt and they will walk away with that. The problem we have in Uganda, that those people who have been involved in big, big corruptions, they are being caught, but then they are being rewarded. They change jobs, they change rank, and they are being rewarded by another job. It shouldn't be that way. So when we look at corruption, corruption affects everybody. But let us look at the report for this year. What did it say about the picture of corruption in Uganda? You would not believe it. The picture of corruption in Uganda, it was read by Museveni on 9th of March 2021, produced by IGG, and it was 70% of corruption in Uganda is in the police. I'm going to explain how. 50% is in traffic, 57%, 53% in judiciary, institution which is meant to give you justice. Corruption is at 53%. A place which is meant to give you justice, 53%. And then you can see in Iran, it was 53 as well. Hospital, where we cannot get medication, where you cannot see a doctor genuine, where when you need to get paracetamol, you have to pay money, where women to have babies, they have to pay money, where to operate your patient, your loved one, you have to pay money, where to discharge you, you have to pay money, where to collect your dead body from mortuary, you have to pay money. It is serious in Uganda, comrades. 47% in hospitals. People, hello Molly, people collecting their dead people. They had to pay now of coronavirus. They had to pay 6 million. They had to pay 4 million to collect your loved ones. You have lost somebody. This is like embarrassing, humiliating. You lose all your dignity. Hello, Victoria. So corruption has hit in Uganda. Hospital is 47%. At district level is 45%. If you had that legislative plan from the leader of opposition, he said he wanna bring back decentralization, because as it happens now, the local district, local areas, they no longer exist, because what has happened, Museveni has taken over centralization, and everything you want, you have to go to State House. So the leader of opposition today is proposing to bring back decentralization. How I grew up, that's how I grew up. Kusaza, kugombolola, kumweruka, blah, blah, blah. But now, as it seems, State House, everyone has got to go in State House. So corruption, that is how it is in Uganda. And to have a picture now, we are going to look at that. Let us look at the key areas where corruption happens in Uganda. Number one is the police. Can you believe it? The report said 70%. Because what happens in the police? Somebody, you go there to report somebody has stolen, then they will log in your case, and then that person will come and then they will give them bribe. What is happening? The police is letting down Uganda big time. You heard what in Nantaba. Nantaba had a fight with the Kaihura when he was still IGP. He could catch people who were involved in land grabbing, and then Kaihura will let them off. The police all the time is about corruption. For me, I've got police references that I'm waiting for the new Uganda. When you go to the police to report your phone, to report your enanga muntu, to report anything, you leave when you have paid a lot of money for the report, for the paper, for the photocopy. Where is the money that we give into the police? At one time, Kaihura had to write off 25 billions, which was given in the police. We've never known that. So the corruption in police is big and big and big. We call it chidogodogo. When you go to the police, you have to give in chidogodogo. Number two, another key area is the UPDF. We saw it, Chirumira hired the UPDF. We saw this man singing, Tumine, Eli Tumine, hiring UPDF to move people off his land. So the UPDF is being used in corruption to steal all these woods from Zaire, it's involved into corruption. What they do to go to Somalia is involved into corruption. You know, because people, they are being paid 1,500 euros, they don't pay them that much. Corruption in UPDF is quite a lot. And number three is judiciary. You had the report said that in the judiciary, a place meant to give us justice, judiciary is at 53%. I can't believe it. The word justice in Uganda, we should scrap it. Judiciary, a place meant to give us justice, Corruption is at 53. This is this year, the report by IGG, which was produced on 1st of March 2021, and it was given to the president. What did he do? This man who died, Rokechi, stood up and said, Your Honor, we accept corruption in the police that has been existing for a long time, but he didn't say that they are trying to do something else. Number 4, customs. Customs, entry ports, the airport, the border, the sea border, the dry border, customs. Corruption is very, very high in Uganda. One thing that makes me sad is people coming from diaspora with a suitcase of 25 kilos. At the Entebbe airport, they search the suitcase. They make you pay money. They make you leave your things unthinkable. But however, if there wasn't corruption at customs, we would be in a better place. Look at what happened to the vehicle of Bobby Wine. URA. It was cleared, he paid the right money, but once they knew, they took the car back. How can they give him that bill, which was 300 something millions, which is closer to $1 billion? Customs, when people like they bring containers to transfer from Kenya to Uganda, they have to pay bribe. Because this man at the customs is going to say, I'm going to open up your container and check bit by bit. There is a lot why this corruption is happening. There is MP called Egyptian Kateshua. He was taking 400 millions per week and he was sacked. And then he was rewarded. Now he's the MP of Shema North. And I saw him presenting something to do with the COVID, with the money that went missing, how they spent in the parliament. And I said, how could this happen? Actually, NRM, I don't know about their values now. It's like Magezi, Rafael Magezi was deemed to be corrupt. He shouldn't have presented that bill into the parliament to lift the age limit. So, customs at the airport, you can see now without medication in the hospital. If really medication came through the airport and the customs cleared that medication, we should be able to trace it. Where did that medication go? How was it received? How is it spent? How was it given out? But it seems like nothing is working for Uganda. It's like everywhere you have to pay bribe to get your way out. Customs, people now we know, Sipapa has got vehicles without number plate. They are not paying, they don't pay taxes, but we pay taxes. We see that drones being used to abduct people, kidnap people without number plates. So they don't pay taxes. We know people who are rich. They don't pay taxes they are meant to be paying. But you, a poor man, they take your OTT. They take your small money. You bring a vehicle from what? From Japan. You pay more than what you have bought the vehicle for. You buy a vehicle from Japan for 2 million shillings and you end up paying 17 millions tax. So it's not fair what is happening. Another place where corruption happens in Uganda is trade and businesses. This is very, very big. It hurts especially those investors. When they come to Uganda, they have to pay their money out for their businesses to be allowed to start in Uganda. They have to pay some money, some sort of money. Another key area is procurement. As you are aware, procurement now, it has become into the headline. What has happened with the COVID is about procurement. Procurement, we are talking about who gets the money to order the product, then the product will come to Uganda. We had the daughter of Sam Kutesa, the wife of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, was given 64 billions to buy oxygen. The oxygen didn't come. The crisis in the Ministry of Health is about procurement. The money that has been given to the Ministry of Health, you cannot trace it. You heard the money which was given to buy ambulances. There were no ambulances. Procurement is these people, they make it real, and then they even buy things which are outdated, which are short to be expired. It's like they will say we are going to buy aspirin, we buy it from Egypt for 15 billions, they make real, but those aspirins, they will expire within 1 week. Procurement. You heard Museveni's vehicle was stoned and lost the window screen, but how could a presidential car, a bulletproof, a proof car, that a mere stone can break the window screen? It's laughable. So procurement is one key area that this government is taking lots and lots of money. You saw when Museveni was swearing in, within 1 day they spent 7 billion. And that money went on procurement. You saw what they did. Somebody who took the contract to get the chairs, brought chairs, plastic, broken chairs, but the money he took for each chair was like 20,000. The chair he brought, he hired them 1,000. So procurement is big area where corruption happens in Uganda. Another area, parliament. We saw it. We have example. Parliament is where the bills comes from. This man, David Bahati, is always going to the parliament with the bills. NRM people, I said to you yesterday, politics has become employment in Uganda, big time. Some people, they become member of parliament because they know whichever bill they come in, for them, they will just sign. Once they sign, they get money. So we heard how Bobby Wine exposed them and say he wasn't going to sign for that money because it was bribe. We heard when Museveni came and said, okay, bring back the 20 millions, I give you 40 millions, you vote me as the best. We had to lift the age limit, that those who supported to lift the age limit were given 300 millions. And Museveni went on to call them heroes, 370. Can you believe the parliament? That is what corruption is at grand scale. Kadaga was in charge. We had the money for Isimba Dam, 24 billions. Kadaga says she knows who took that money, but she will not say that person. We have Entebbe Airport, the most expensive road, express in the whole world. But where is the money? How good it is? It doesn't have lightings. It only has got 1 mile. The rest is dark, pitch black. So another area where corruption happens is fund aids. We had all these people born again, they start churches, they start charities, they serve 100 children, I'm looking after, I have a school, they will get so much money. And even just guess what? Who gets more money for corruption is the government. If you go and read the Ministry of Finance of their bill, they add on money from legal aid. They already count that they will get money from legal aid, from the funders, but how can they suspend the NGO when they get money from them? So people, they play games. It's like, okay, they say one day we don't support same-sex relationship, and then Sweden says we stop our money. Then they say, no, we change our program. But the money is nowhere to be seen. Uganda, we are becoming beggars. You remember when we had the food from China, which was very bad. So corruption is eating Uganda. Corruption is eating Uganda, and it's not helping Uganda at all. Another area is about administration. What happens in administration is very bad. Another area is lands. Who hasn't seen it? Catherine Bagamarire. We know the land grabbing. We hear the mile now. It's what is the debate that Museveni wants to scrap the mile. But however, there is land grabbing in Apa, everywhere, mostly in central Uganda. You had people where in Mkono, Chibule, killing people, land. There is big corruption in the land. You heard what happened in Endeavour Church. It was knocked down by somebody from circles of Museveni family. But however, Betty Kamya was minister and she was aware of that. So I don't understand how Betty Kamya, who has been involved in corruption, broad daylight in her campaign, how she can be appointed as IGG. I don't really understand that. So corruption in Uganda is eating, is affecting everybody, is affecting the life, is affecting the performance, is affecting the growth, the development, is affecting the economic growth. And without tackling corruption, it's going to be difficult for Uganda to develop. So where does NUP stand in its manifesto versus the NRM? It's in manifesto. Briefly, NUP, its leader, has said one day he's going to come and tell us who was sent to give him bribes so that he can drop the NUP and just leave. He promised us Bobby is going to tell us one day. And also, Mama Zedriga, our northern deputy, was given 5 billion and she turned it down. Unfortunately, some people, they have used it, they have taken that money. Hello, Denny. Hi. How are you? Hi, Denny. Hi, Belinda. So, corruption. NUP, this is where they stand in our manifesto. NUP says we are going to have zero tolerance to corruption. That is what Kagame did. Go to Rwanda. They don't tolerate corruption. Go to China. China, you are put on firing squad. And the China, they don't even stop with one person. All the people, your friends and the family who have been enjoying the money and the corruption, they all put you on firing squad. I don't support firing squad or docile, but I'm just telling you, NUP, we are not saying that, but we are saying we are going to have zero tolerance to corruption. That's the number one. Second, we are going to recover. We are going to recover all the money that has been stolen. And then we are going to put those people accountable who have done that. Accountability is going to be very, very big in our plan, in our government. And we are going so far as you can see. We are having hashtag by LP, accountability and services. So accountability has gone on. You have seen our MPs going back in their constituents to see if they got the money for Emio gas. I don't know what it understands. And you can see our MPs, they are not wasting time. They are not diverted. They've gone back to their constituents to ask how many people received the money from Nabanja. And as we can see, NUP, for them, our plan to stop this corruption, we are going to stop cash handout. We are going to have financial structures in place that when there is money to be released, it's going to be released in the form of check. It's going to be signed, the countersigned before. It's going to be like every time there will be external audit, internal audit, everything like that. NRM, what they have done, they can't even give us, they can't even justify. 35 years in power, corruption has gone wrong. They went in the bush to get rid of dictatorship, but they come into power, corruption has gone into their system, and they are feeding on corruption. First of all, NRM, Museveni himself, last year, he confessed that he cannot deal with the corruption. Number one. That took him after 2 years walking to corruption. That is what NRM said. How can you walk to corruption? And also, Museveni acknowledged that the appointment of IGG and the Nakalema was jeopardizing how to tackle corruption. When you see corruption, how it happens at a scale, Nakalema is not doing anything. For her, she's saying she starts with small fish and then she'll get the big one. We had the land inquiry. It ended up at the door of Salim Saleh, of Otafile. You heard what Otafile said. He went in the parliament, told Francis Mojiti, if you want to talk to me about that, we better go out in the parliament and we sort out ourselves. So there has been some intimidation. So when you look at how can you tackle, how can you reduce, how can you eradicate, there must be a process. First of all, how can you tackle the corruption in Uganda? Number one, you have to acknowledge that there is corruption in Uganda. And then you have to identify all these key areas where corruption happens. But then you have to think about how can you tackle this in a long term. It's not it's not a bullet, it's not a rocket science that you tackle corruption so quickly. Some ways I used to argue with my tutor called Siri. Everything she was saying, she was going back to education. And I said, I'm sick of you woman, everything education. But now I realize, number one, you have to go back to education so that people, they know, my children, they have grown up when they know corruption, when money is not yours or whatever. So we have to go to teach people. They will have principle. They know what's right, what's wrong, and they understand that money is not theirs. But then we have to look at why somebody is being corrupt. It is something to do with the accessibility. We have to bring policies that are going to give people accessibility. They are going to give them affordability. They are going to give them quality, because people, they struggle. If they don't have something, they're gonna nick it. They're gonna find a way. Corruption as their survival means. If they don't have it, what can they do? They are being tempted, especially in Uganda, where money is cash handout. You get out cash. So we are going to phase that out. We are going to use the mobile money. So another point we are going to do is to do remuneration. Review is very, very important. We have to review the remuneration, the salaries of people. You cannot pay a teacher 380,000 and you expect them not to do something corrupt. How are they going to pay their house, their food, their fees for their children, clothes? How in reality you are pushing them? In order to stop them being corrupt, you have to look for ways that if you catch them, then you know they are guilty. But we have to remove all these temptations from these people. And from what? Another method we can look at, the policies we can bring, is people to get their rights. Their rights. I'm talking about small things. Birth certificate. You line up for days. A birth certificate, now maybe they scrapped them, used to be 30,000. You end up spending 200,000 shillings. So we must make accessibility of people's rights very, very quick, as simple as available, and we must make them affordable. Yes, the money that is being charged is affordable, to be honest to you, in Uganda. But it is these people you come to meet on the office, on the door. These are the people who say, I can do this, they mislead you. We must put a system in place that somebody knows. Me, who lives from Lusaka Mesa, I don't need to come to Chotera or to Kalisis or to Masaka. I go to my local district. This is what our leader of opposition has just said. He wants decentralization back, so that you go to your local council, you get your ID, you apply for your passport, you collect it there. But now people, they have got to go where and where. So you are encouraging corruption. So remuneration is big, is going to play a key part. And then you have to look at your taxes. How are you going to tax people? When I've got experience, I import vehicles from Japan and I import vehicles from Europe. When you import vehicles from Japan, you can pay taxes, it's in the books. But vehicles from Europe, they don't have their prices. That is the point. Put everything standard, make them the simple. So corruption, when you look at how can you go about that, how can you reduce that, then you have to employ people who are going to look at this. We have to use external audit, internal audit. Internal every day. For me, when I go to work, as soon as I sign for work, I have to count the money which is there where I'm working. I have to hand over when I leave, and everybody has got to hand over. That is internal audit. The everyday staffs will have to check the money, and weekly the manager will have to check, and then a month external auditor will have to come. So to avoid mistakes, and we have to be mindful of this pettiness, the small ones. If you leave small corruption go ahead, it's gonna become big. So we have to look at how can we stop. At some time, you have to look at how can you tackle. That is number one. Bring the policies in place, bring the people, bring the resources. And even when you are tackling corruption, you are creating jobs, because you're going to employ people, external auditors. We don't need armies. We don't need wherever. I listened very well to the leader of opposition, and he said, how can we have army in the parliament? What sort of discussion are we going to have? So corruption is quite very, very big, but we have to look at why is corruption happening? Cases in judiciary, how can corruption happen? Let us put the system, complaints. Let us put the system that people, they can report that I went to court and they took my money. Let us put the system that is for everybody. We need to bring the rule of law, because you have seen in Uganda, corruption in the police is at 70%. So we need to bring the rule of law, that the police is not going to be corrupt. And another way we can look at to eradicate, to reduce, to stop corruption is investment in software. That is going to work. There is a software that I was involved in, but there is a software we can bring in that the police, if a police stops you, it is recorded. He cannot delete it. He cannot delete that entry. We are going to bring software that a policeman cannot delete. And we have to be willing to invest in such, not to invest in the army, not to invest. Because when you spend money on army, it's not going to stop corruption. And if you stop corruption, you don't need the army. People, they are going to be very, very peaceful. So we need to spend where it matters. So if we spend money in what? In software, that would be good. If we spend money in technology, that would be good. If we spend money, we can stop cash handout. That would be good. If we spend money, we pay civil servants very well. That would be good. If we educate people, that would be good. If we make public services available everywhere, not in rural areas, but if it is available in everywhere, urban areas, rural areas, north, east, west, south, it's going to make a big, big, big difference. But however, we have to raise awareness. One of the things that we have to empower people. Empowerment, it means you give somebody information, you leave them to decide based on how they understand. We need to raise awareness. We need to teach our communities. We need to teach our public so that they know that if a passport is their right, they don't need to pay bribe. If they want a nangamont is their right, they don't need to pay a bribe. And we have to make it as simple as that. We have to make it clear. And we have to deal with people who are corrupt, people who are taking money from people. We should not refuse them. It's like one day I was speaking to Nina online, and she told me how she was going to stop corruption in the hospital. The medication that comes in the hospital, it will be recorded at the airport. It gets in the hospital, the batch number, they will have it. How could they end up giving water to the people of COVID? So corruption has gone, is on a rampant in Uganda, has gone out of hand. It is eating every part of Uganda, every part of the body. It is affecting. You have to see now, our shilling is inflated. Our shilling is inflated. Why? Because there is no economic growth. And at this moment, if you can see, we have centralization in place. Museveni has got the upper hand for Bank of Uganda. He's got a PIN number. He tells Kasaija what to do. He tells Mutabile what to do. They use the money as they want. We need to go back to the review. Honorable Mpuga was speaking about that, and I heard Elias speak about that, not too much, because the ex-parliament in Uganda is what made mistake. They gave Museveni too much executive. They need to review that, as today legislative plan has been given. They need to review the powers that which was given to the president is too much. Because as we stand for now, the State House, they get 560 million per day. Per day! Per day! Per week, 3.5 billion. And now we hear that money is not even enough. They come back for 800 million per day. This is why you hear full figures say, I'm going to the State House. You are going to the State House. Money in the envelope. Museveni gives the money in the envelope. That is what the leader of opposition is saying. That the president, it is not sustainable to give those athletes vehicles, to give them reward. There must be set rewards that whoever wins the gold will get this money. Whoever wins the silver will get this money. Whoever goes and doesn't win will get that money. That is sustainable. And then he said, we are going to invest. We lobby the parliament so that they invest a lot in education. As I said to you before, how you deal with this, you must make education affordable, accessible, quality, and universal. Those are the pillars that we are going to use the policies. Every policy you come up with, it must have those 4 parts. Every policy, it must have those 4 parts. But when you talk about corruption, corruption is eating Uganda. It's difficult now to deal with Uganda, with this current government, because NRM Manifesto is not talking about dealing with what? Corruption. They talk about as something that has failed. They cannot deal because NRM cannot survive without corruption. You can see what they do. They bribe people. They buy this, they give this, they buy this, they bypass that. That is not the way we want to go. But when we talk about corruption, it has affected Uganda, it has affected the country. In Africa, it's affecting the continent. and we shall not develop when corruption is as bad as it is in Uganda. And the lack of rule of law means corruption is gonna go bigger and bigger and bigger. Problem that the young people we have now, corruption is like a norm to them. So it looks like we shall have a generation that is gonna come when they know corruption is zero tolerance. Corruption is not there. But for me, I have something that I can lean on. Kagame grew up in Uganda. I don't know if he was born in Uganda. Grew up in Uganda. He went back to Rwanda after genocide, and he has put Rwanda on its knees. You can see how it is developing. There is zero tolerance in Rwanda, you like it or not. Zero tolerance of corruption. And if we can be zero tolerance of corruption, or if we can be free of corruption, Uganda will develop. You heard what Sam Kutesa did. He brought Museveni $500,000 to him. He took it after it was, then it went to charity. You can see what is happening to Entebbe Airport. You can see Uganda Airline running out fuel on a foreign land. You can see what is happening. There is no job creation, corruption. You can see now people who get tender, they must be those who are within the government, or those who are somebody in the government have a threat. So we have to see where corruption, how much it is affecting Uganda. It is affecting people. I heard somebody, Munyagwa, was being taken to court, that he promised to get somebody's son a job. And that parent was paid Munyagwa 100 million. That is where we are now. You pay school fees in a hardship. Your what qualifies, you have to pay money for them to get a job. And not even what they have studied for, but to get a job. But where we are going to enter in near Uganda, that we are going to tackle one thing for one by one, one by one, one by one, one by one, and then we'll get there. But let me tell you, it looks big, but I'll come back and explain to you the system that we shall have in place. Once we have that system in place, everything will settle down. Everything will be smooth. But where we stand for now, this government, they are not to listen to anybody. They are never do anything. How can you tell me 53% of corruption happens in judiciary? Forget about the police. In the judiciary, and the police, 70%. Developed countries, they are being led by the police. Once the police is working, the country is settled down, is settled. However, anyway, it's too much for Uganda. What is happening in Uganda is quite a lot and a lot. We don't know, but we know we want a chance to be given a chance so that we can be able to do something for our Uganda. But corruption is never good in any way. Any small corruption, any big is not big. It keeps the country backwards. It's not good for anything. So we have to fight corruption, and we have to fight to get our country free of corruption. And that is one reason why NRM doesn't want to go in power. They have been corrupt. They fear to be brought to accountable. They fear to lose whatever they are. They're far used to be corrupt and corrupt and corrupt. We can't go any further. I thank you very much for listening to me. I thank you very much for joining me. I thank you always, always. I don't take your time lightly. Thank you for your time. I'll come back. Those in UK, there is a barbecue, Dulwich Park. Please, you can go. Sir, anytime from 1 p.m. Salute, people power, our power, people power. NUP everywhere, NUP. Musule bulungi bannange. Good night. Musibe bulungi Australia. Musibe bulungi America. Musule bulungi Europe. Musule bulungi Uganda mwenna mwebase. Kali ab'omu Asia mwe muzuukuse. Japan muzukuse kikini nange ntaddeyo. Thanks.